Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. It is the Canadian Fire Gal. Hope you get blah, blah, blah. Good morning. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about child-free fire. So I'm going to go through the reasons why I think, or why I myself am child-free and plan to be in the future. The first thing is I just don't have any interest in having kids. I don't have any kind of thought. I never think about having kids. I never think about having them in the future. When I see friends or people with young children, my reaction is never positive. It's always kind of, why would you do that? Kids are expensive. They're messy. They're pretty disgusting, honestly. They also limit what you can do in your life quite a bit. I honestly feel like you can't be the same person after you have kids. Not that that's a bad thing, but not really having that kind of heavy responsibility of raising children is huge. Honestly, one of the biggest reasons is I'm just a selfish person. Being on the fire path, that kind of speaks for itself. I am working towards my own financial dependence and being able to retire early at some point. So being child-free sort of goes hand in hand with that and makes sense. I have had partners in the past that really wanted kids and also didn't really vibe with the whole fire thing. They weren't really interested in retiring at all, which I think is strange, but there are people out there who just assume that they have to work forever. So because I know that this is a core value of mine, it definitely changes the type of people that I date and am with, because that is a massive deal breaker if somebody wants kids, and also if they have no interest in saving money and traveling and getting to a point where they can retire around the same time that I would like to retire. I feel like a good response to the question of why don't you want to have kids is to ask somebody why they want to have kids. I just don't see the appeal, and there are a lot of people, especially this day and age, who I think feel the same way. Not only is the world a pretty shitty place to be in right now, but it's hella expensive to raise kids, and having kids just to do it, to please your parents, to do the same thing your friends are doing just because you think it's a part of life is super wrong. I don't think children should be brought into a situation where they're not wanted or the parents can't afford to take care of them. I have read a few threads on Reddit about people who have had kids and then later in life regretted it. And they just kind of went along with the process because they felt it was the right thing to do. There are still a lot of women being shamed for having abortions or even for taking birth control and not having kids when they're married. So my decision to go child-free, not just on the fire path, but just in life in general, has been a decision I made probably about 5 years ago. When I was younger, around 19, 20, I did really want kids at that time and definitely thought that that was in my future. But as I got older and kind of realized what things in life mattered to me, I found out that I really wasn't interested in having children whatsoever, and that hasn't changed for me in the last 5 or so years. Obviously, going down the fire path, not having children makes things a lot easier, and you get to that number quite a bit quicker because you're not paying for any of the expenses that come with having a child, like school, toys, childcare, food, housing, you name it. All of that just doesn't apply when you don't have children. I read an article on NBC.ca a little bit earlier that said it can cost up to $250,000 to raise a child from birth to 18 years of age. That being said, I think a lot of kids these days don't move out of their home right at 18, right when they graduate high school. A lot of people are staying at home longer, especially throughout university and college, so that they can save up a bit of money while they are in school and not working potentially. I definitely think it's possible to fire and retire early and all of that if you have kids, but it definitely makes your path a lot different. If you're somebody who really values having kids and that has been in your plan for a very long time, I don't think that you should not do it because of financial reasons. That's super wrong. I also don't think that you should not have kids because you think it's going to get you to your fire date sooner. That's really not the point. of financial independence, retire early at all. You're really supposed to be building the life that you want and kind of saving towards retiring to a really fruitful, awesome life that you want to live full time. For me, because I don't want kids, there are other things that I have set up for myself as goals. I still would like to own a home one day. I would love to have dogs, and right now I have a cat, but I would love to bring more animals into my life and have the time and the energy to play with them and take them on trips and all of that. Obviously, having a dog is not really comparable to having a child, but for me, that is something that I am working towards. That's something that I have always wanted, to have a dog and to have a house and a yard and all of that. I think without having children, it opens you up to a little bit more possibilities, especially in terms of travel. I want to do some long-term travel in my life, like moving abroad, living for a few years, and just working as I go and backpacking and traveling and seeing a bunch of stuff. I think that would be super difficult with kids. Not that you couldn't do it with kids, but it definitely makes things a lot easier when it's just yourself and your partner or friends or family. So that kind of leads into finding a partner that is compatible, not just on so many different items in life, but finding somebody that also doesn't want kids is absolutely huge. That's one of those deal breaker things that if one person wants kids and the other one doesn't, it's probably not going to work out long term, or somebody's going to end up compromising and potentially resenting the other person for kind of pushing them down a road they didn't really want to go down. So that is absolutely massive, not just for your own life and being happy, but on your FIRE journey, finding somebody that is super compatible on where you want to live in the future, what kind of traveling you want to do, whether or not you want kids, whether or not you want to buy a house, and getting to the same point financially in a relationship is super, super important for the long term. I'm sure that goes without saying. It's kind of an obvious thing that you have to be compatible on these kind of core values, and you have to have similar morals in your life and be working towards similar goals. I think that is huge to making something work. I'm gonna have a separate video on how to deal with money, especially money conversations with your family, with your friends, your spouse, etc., coworkers, because having those conversations can still be very difficult and quite taboo, even though I think we're working towards a world that is more accepting of people talking about their incomes and talking about how much they save and how much they spend and their long-term goals. And I think that is really awesome and super important for kind of feeling like you're not alone and understanding money a little bit better and how you can do things better and how other people have changed their ways and been able to get to a point that maybe you want to get to. So for me, one of my selfish hobbies, let's call it selfish hobby, that I would like to pursue in retirement is getting my private pilot's license. And that has been a dream of mine for quite a long time. It's quite expensive and I haven't put money aside at this point to pursue it. I did go to school for about 3 or 4 months where I took lessons to get my private pilot's license, but I ended up scrapping it because it was really expensive at the time. And I think that hobbies like that are quite expensive and take a lot of time and kind of take you away from home, not having children in the long run really makes that stuff a bit more feasible. Not only can I save a lot more money now for that kind of thing in retirement, but in retirement, I won't have to worry about paying for any kind of my kids' expenses like school or weddings. I know some parents pay for their children's down payments on homes. So there's just a lot of really large expenses that come with having kids. And obviously, like I said before, that's not a reason to not have them if you want kids. Finances should never be above something like that, but I definitely think that getting to the financial independence stage of my life is going to take a lot less time without having kids. And that is just a massive priority of mine, is to get to that financial independence number, but to also build a career that I want to stay with, because retiring early is not really part of my plan. I do want to find work that I really enjoy and maybe working part-time instead of full-time. So I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys on the whole child-free situation, especially on the fire journey. It is a bit of a unique path. I don't think there are a lot of women in the fire community that are pursuing it child-free and not expecting to have kids in the future. If you're also child-free and are on the fire path, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining me today, guys. See you next time.